Hi Sewing Bees, I'm Sookie and welcome to the Beehive. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to embroider on a scarf. I'm going to share with you the right needles and threads and stabilizers, all the great things so that you can get the most professional results. So grab your machine and let's get stitching. All right, first things first, let's talk about the needle. I do recommend that you use an Embroidery 7511 needle for the scarf and make sure that it's a brand new needle. As far as thread, you're gonna want to have the same thread in the top and the bobbin. I am using a 40 weight embroidery thread. This one happens to be Matler Polysheen, but really just use whatever your machine likes and whatever your favorite brand is, and make sure that it's in the same in the bobbin and in the top. As far as stabilizers, there's going to be two that we're going to use. One will be our backing and one will be our topping. The one that I'm using for the backing is fantastic. It is a wash away, but it's a mesh style. I always feel like this stabilizer kind of reminds me of paper towels, but like the really good ones that you can get. And it is wash away, but it's got like body to it, so it will hold whatever it is that you're embroidering really nicely. And in this case, we have a sheer scarf that we want to make sure that we're adding some body to through the stabilizer. And then on the top, we're going to just be using a clear wash away stabilizer. So ultimately, when we're all finished, everything's going to be gone away as far as stabilizers go, except for the embroidery thread. Now, I would recommend that if you are doing a lot of machine embroidery, you might want to pick up a copy of the Pocket Guide to Stabilizers. This is a fantastic book. It's my book, and it just covers all kinds of stabilizers, and it also covers different various ways of hooping. So I'll have a link in the description that you can get this. You can also ask your local machine dealer if they have a copy of it. Okay, let's go ahead and hoop our stabilizer. Again, we are going to be using for the backing a wash away mesh type stabilizer. We're just going to put it inside the hoop. We want to make sure that there's enough extra stabilizer around the outside of the hoop. That way we know that we have it nice and tight and secure in our hoop. The other thing too is usually on hoops, there's some kind of indicator for the inside and the outside hoop so that you make sure that they are aligned. My hoop actually has like two little arrows, so they almost seem like they're kissing. So you just want to make sure that your hoop, the inside and the outside, are perfectly aligned. So let's go ahead and hoop that stabilizer. So there we go. We have at least 1 inch of the stabilizer all the way around, and it's nice and tight. So let's mark our scarf and our stabilizer to make sure that they are going to be aligned. So now you have to decide where you want your embroidery, and I'm actually going to be putting mine kind of in this like corner right here. So somewhere in this area, I want my embroidery. I want it to be pretty much like in the center of this area. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball where I feel like the center is. Now, as far as marking, you can use marking pencils, you can use stickers, you can use all kinds of different ways to make sure that you've marked your material. You just want to make sure that you test it so that the mark will come out later. So I've already tested mine and I can barely see it, but I can see my mark there. And then now this is just a wash away chalk that I like. And this one is the Friction Highlighter, which I really like the highlighter. It didn't really show up on this material. I mean, I could try again, but yeah, it didn't really show up that well. However, I want to show you here that what I do is I mark the material and I also mark my stabilizer. And I just kind of connect the hash marks to kind of find the center. If you want to be really precise and accurate, with every hoop comes a plastic template that fits inside there, and you can use that to do your marking. I think I'm pretty good with that. And then let's just go ahead and get this laid in there. Okay, I feel like that's going to be really good. And I know that my embroidery is going to land somewhere in here. And I've got my lines lined up. You have to trust me. I know you can't see it, but I do in fact have it lined up. Now, the other thing is, how are we going to keep this scarf on the stabilizer? Well, you can use a spray adhesive, you can use glue, tape, pins. There's all sorts of devices you can use to place the scarf in here. However, I don't want any adhesives and I don't want any pin marks because this is really delicate material. So what I've opted to do is actually use Sew Tights. I'm not sure if you've ever seen these little guys, but they are a magnetic device that helps you secure materials together. The back it's basically just a piece of metal, and then the front has a little, you'll actually see the word Sew Tight. You can barely see that right there, Sew Tights. It's plastic on the front, and then on the inside, it's actually just 3 little magnets. So then these two just connect together. Now, Sew Tights is a brand. They have tons of different kinds of these little Sew Tight magnets, but these are the ones that I seem to like the best. The other option is to use one that is less magnetized, and this is a good option. It's basically just like a less amount of magnetism, and so I like these, the little yellow ones. So it's just like a light version, and on the back of this is just 2 little magnets. So today, because of the lightweight nature of this particular scarf, I am going to go ahead and use this version of the Sew Tights. So all we're going to do is, I have 4 of them. I'm just going to basically put them like here, 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 and here. And I place the metal piece underneath the hoop, and I can kind of see, I can see where it is underneath here. And there it is. That's all it is. So let's just do that on all 4 corners. Okay, that looks good to me. And now you'll see that that scarf's going to stay in place and attached to our material, our stabilizer. And then the other thing is, we do want to have a topping so that we don't have any of our stitches completely get sunk into our scarf. So we're going to be using a wash away that's clear. So ultimately, we have 2 pieces of wash away, the mesh style, which will add some body and hold this while we're stitching, and then the clear on top, which will be really nice, and it'll keep everything smooth. The other thing too is this will kind of help those little tassels stay out of the way as well. So all we're going to do is just reposition the top Sew Tight. Okay, and we're all good to go. I can still see my marking, but I'm going to go ahead and just remark it here so that you all can see as well. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so now we're just going to head to the embroidery machine. I've already got my design set up. I've got my machine threaded, and in the bobbin I have the matching thread, and I have that needle. So I'm just going to go over there, do the stitching, and then I'll see you back here. Now that we have our hoop in the machine, we just want to make sure that the needle is centered over where the center position is. So I'm just going to be doing that by moving on my screen and with my dials. Every machine's different, so you're just going to want to check with your manufacturer. And I'm sure there's some videos specific to each machine to make sure that you're doing this correctly. But now I know that for all certainty that the center of where I want my design is going to be exactly where it should be. So then the other thing is just to kind of do like a little trace around to make sure that we're not going to have the presser foot hit any of the Sew Tights. So we're good there, here, here, and here. All right. We're ready to go. Let's start stitching. I am so happy with how this came out. I'm just going to remove the Sew Tights around it, and then I'm going to go back in with the little easy hook and snip scissors. They have like a little hook right here, which allows me to clip those jump threads real easily. Okay, I think that looks really good. So now what we're going to do is just remove the clear wash away from the project, I like to do this while the material in the stabilizer, whatever is still hooped. That way we just kind of have a little resistance. And then the other thing I just want to point out is you never want to just start ripping away the stabilizer. You want to make sure that you're holding your stitches while you do the tearing away. That way you don't distort the stitches or distort the material. Now, if you've got leftover pieces of stabilizer, which obviously we do, you can use a pair of the little angled tweezers and all the little yellow handled. This is part of the Sookie Sews line. You can head to my website. There will be a link in the description for where you can get it. But with these tweezers, you can just kind of go right underneath the stabilizer and just pull it away, just kind of like that. And just keep in mind, whatever doesn't get pulled away will very easily wash away. And since you have to wash away the back anyways, I might decide to leave more than I normally would because it's going to go away in a moment with the water. Okay, I think that's probably as good as I'm going to worry about it right now. So the next thing is to remove the stabilizer out of the hoop. And then we want to cut away as much of the stabilizer as we can. And I always just caution to be really careful and don't accidentally cut the material because it's easy for it to happen. So I don't use fabric shears. I actually use duckbill applique scissors because then I'll be able to get really close to the material without cutting the fabric layer. I'm going to flip it so that it's the wrong side facing up. You just want to be really careful because obviously you don't want to cut the scarf. So the duckbill is what lays against the fabric, just like this. And obviously whatever doesn't get cut away will get washed away. So now we're just going to go and run this very gently underneath some warm water. And as I'm running it under the water, I'm just going to kind of massage the stabilizer with my fingers. This is going to take a few minutes, so I'm going to do this off camera, and when I come back, all of this will be gone and we will have just the beautiful embroidery left. Okay, so now I washed it, I removed all the stabilizer, and I went ahead and threw it in the dryer for about 5 minutes on the delicate cycle, and it actually dried it really good. I did just give it a little press just so that everything's laying nice and flat. And then one last thing to just keep in mind, because we are stitching on something that you can see on both sides, is it is really important that you go on the wrong side and do a little bit of thread clipping as well. So just get in there and clip all those threads. That way the scarf looks good on both sides. Now, obviously I actually put some words on here. I put a Bible verse. So there's only one way that this is going to look good, and it's on the right side. So, but if you were going to do something that you were for sure going to see on, no matter what, you're going to see this on both sides. So just do some tidying up, and there you go. And that is how you do your embroidery on a scarf. Well, sewing bees, I hope you found some value in this video and you are going to embroider on your very own scarf. I would love to see what you do with yours, so be sure to share a photo and tag me on social media everywhere at Sookie Sews. And if you did enjoy this video, maybe consider sharing it with one of your embroidering friends. And of course, I would love if you give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and most importantly, please do consider subscribing to my YouTube channel so that you can get more videos just like this. And until I see you next time, I hope you have a creative day. Bye-bye.